Okay, I'm going to attempt to finish this out on video after all. And one of the big reasons is I forgot to measure it. Yeah. Almost 9 inches. Yep. So I didn't want to make a video just on measuring it. So I'm just going to trim off a little bit on this side here to make it a little more symmetrical. I'm not going to mess with removing any of this over here. Just a little bit of this down here. Okay? Okay. So let's get everything ready. I was going to finish it off camera, but I'm feeling awake enough. Still early. Usually I wait until the end of the day to make a video because I'm usually not interrupted. But it looks like I won't be interrupted right now, so let's go. All right. So how much am I going to remove? Not that much. I'm going to leave the widest part wide, which right now is about 95 millimeters. Then the thickness right there, let's see right here. Yeah, the thickness, come on. What is that, 12? To be fair, it's almost 10. If I cheat, I can find a spot where it's 10. But 12, well, if it was 10, it would be 9 to 1, so it's probably 8 to 1. Between 8 to 1 and 9 to 1 ratio. It'll remain that way because I'm only going to take this lower part down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I got to tiptoe with it. Right? Yes, tiptoe. I don't want to do this aggressively. Okay. Just little by little. I was reviewing the last video, and it's hard to capture the entire blade in the shot. Yeah. To get everything in frame when it's a large blade. Yeah. Not that I'm complaining, but it is a consideration when I'm doing these. All right, I gotta stop using the coarse abrader. Okay, so delicately. All right, I gotta look at each flake. Dang it. I was hoping I didn't have to look at each flake, but it's very, very finicky. It doesn't give me any slack at all. It doesn't cut me any slack because it's so delicate on the edges. I gotta hit almost straight down if I want to avoid step fractures when I'm not looking. I mean, I can look at every flake, but that's just such a tedious thing. on a large blade. On a small blade, there's not that many flakes. Here, there's dozens of flakes. All right, so I took off some of that edge. Now it looks a little more symmetrical. So that's all I'm going to take off on that edge. I will come back and sharpen whatever it needs to be sharpened. And I'll just continue going around the edges and knocking off fat spots very carefully. And yeah, I gotta watch every flake, even though I don't want to. Looks like I already abraded lots of this, yeah. It's still crushing, even though I'm hitting straight down. Yep, there is a slight amount of inward force because the the percussion flaker tip is rounded. So it does exert some inward force, even though I'm striking straight down. And that slight inward force is creating some step fracturing. How do I avoid that? I just have to not overlap the edge too much. Try not to bite off too much. That's the only way to prevent it. And I can change the angle on this too, so it doesn't exert as much inward force. Change the angle on that, on the workpiece. I can do this with pressure where it's so much less fatiguing with percussion. The avoidance of fatigue is a major thing in flint knapping. It'll be imperceptible, but you'll mess up if you're too tired. You won't know why you're messing up. You don't feel that tired, but just that slight difference in the amount of force, or that slight difference in your understanding because you're tired, can lead to big mistakes. Slight miscalculation in the amount of force can lead to a big mistake. Does that mean I'm paying attention at that level every second while I'm flint knapping? No, but my subconscious is. Yeah, and it does get fatiguing quickly. I gotta take a break between each thing that I flint knap. Let me see if I can remove some of the step fracture. Probably have to live with it. I can minimize it. This whole edge is messed up here. That's why it's kind of wonky. With the symmetry, I had to keep taking more and more off this edge, and it made it wonky, and it's going to get worse here in a second. This whole edge was difficult for me to get nice and smooth. No, not like that. Crushes right where it's not supposed to crush, of course. Why am I chipping in this direction when I should be chipping over here where the step fracture is? It's because I'm trying to move the edge that way. So I'm taking advantage of that to smooth this out if I can, but I just installed another step fracture. So I'm not doing that good of a job doing this. Yeah, the edge is very finicky. I can probably get that out with pressure. Yeah. Can I get this out with pressure on here? Probably not, because it's big. It's a big step fracture. This one's a little fingernail, so I could probably get that with pressure. Yep. Now, would I use this knife back in the day for anything? Nope. I would not use this for anything because it's so delicate. It would get dull in 5 minutes. Instead of 5 hours, it get dull in 5 minutes. So what is it good for? Well, this is a very good question. I was having a conversation with Grok again today about the ceremonial or religious aspects of different shapes that ancient man created. Some of those shapes had significance for spiritual beliefs. Some cultures believe that certain shapes can capture certain spirits or become a home to certain spirits because they like the shape. So they live there. They move in and live there. Or just by virtue of its shape, it generates a spirit. Just poof. Now there's a spirit just because it's shaped in a certain way. Or it represents a spirit of some sort or some kind of supernatural power, that sort of thing, just because of its shape. So that explains a lot in terms, it's in existence to this day, those beliefs. So that gives us some insight into why certain things are certain shapes. When we look at something that's, to us, very strange, why would they make it like that, in that shape, or with that material? Both the color and the shape make a difference when you're talking about spiritual beliefs and symbolism and that kind of thing. I watched a video on banner stones by an archaeologist, and he just barely touched on the idea of the ceremonial aspect. But you have to know the context as well as the shape and the color. Where was it found? Where was the object found? If it's just found on top of the ground, you can't really gather much from that. Dang it. You cannot gather much from an object as far as the context when it's just sitting on top of the ground. If it's found within a burial, that gives you a good clue as to what it is. It automatically is something of value. If it's found within a burial, it had value to the owner or to the people Who knew the owner of the item? Or maybe it was not an item owned by the person buried, but an item given by somebody who was rich, so to speak. It has value of some sort. So why would it have extra value besides just the utilitarian value? It may be because of the shape, specialized shape that wasn't really used as an everyday item, but it was close. If you make an everyday item into a special shape, it makes that everyday item a special item. Like if you had a spindle, let's say, for starting fires, some sort of spindle weight on your bow drill for starting fires. If you make your spindle in a special shape, then maybe you can get the favor of a spirit to help you start the fire. Or that fire was used only in certain ceremonies, so you had to have a special shaped spindle for that ceremony. You know, various things could happen. I don't know if I'm doing this very well. This whole edge, like I said, is just so crunchy. I don't know if I'm doing this well enough. I'm just going to leave it. I'm at the limits of my ability here. For some reason, I can't get this smooth at the final stages, even though this is so easy to knap. Yeah, it should be. It should be easy, but it isn't. All the rules go out the window when the material isn't cooperative. You don't know what to do after that. I mean, I don't know what to do to get it more smooth than that. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to give up. All right. So yeah, the archaeologists didn't even go into the religious aspects very much. And if you're going to comment on something that could have religious implications, you need to be up on your knowledge of religious practices. Yeah. Or you're just mumbling. You might as well be mumbling. We all know banner stones, they look cool and they're found in the context with atlatls in many cases, but is that context within burials or within caves just preserved as regular items, or all those things? Or are you speculating that they're found together because you might have found it within a different kind of atlatl weight? You know, you might have found an ornamental banner stone together in the same little cache with a regular atlatl weight. What was the context? He did not give any context, because it's probably very rare that we have context. He gave some context that some of these banner stones are found with atlatl components, atlatl hooks and handles and what they presume are atlatl hooks and handles. But I've only seen 2 instances of that out of how many thousands of possible instances. You're making an inference. You're making an assumption based on just a very few items in a certain context that could just as well be spindles. And the person buried could have an atlatl, yeah, in his hand, but he can also have a spindle in his hand as well as the atlatl. You can have more than one things in your hand at the same time. And of course, it's a burial, so you can put whatever you want in the person's hand that maybe not normally would go together. Yeah. Like, let's say I was buried with my favorite cup and my favorite knife and my favorite pencil all in my hand together. You know, my hand holding the mug, the handle of the mug, and then the pencil and the knife together in my hand. I don't use all those 3 together, but I can be buried with them all in my hand if they were my favorite things. Yeah. Doesn't mean that it's a cup that can also cut and write things. It's not a multifunction cup that can also cut and write. No, it's a knife, a pencil or pen or whatever, and the cup. They're all placed in my hand separately. Could be that way with the banner stones and the atlatl. The banner stone may be a symbol of authority. So the warrior, buried with his atlatl in his hand, may also have his symbol of authority, his staff of authority, in his hand as well, with the ornamental banner stone, symbolizing his wealth, because it takes time to make one of those. And the material, a lot of times, is exotic, so that makes it more valuable. And the fact that it's drilled, to me, anything that's drilled is probably money or something of value. It appears that most things that were drilled back in the day were money, like beads and that sort of thing. You drilled a hole in it so you could hang it on something, and it represented wealth. Of course, you would have to drill something that's rare, like shells from hundreds or thousands of miles away, or rocks from special quarry, like what do they call it? The greenish stone. I don't even remember the name of the stone now. But anyway, turquoise. You drill the turquoise. You don't just keep lumps of turquoise. You grind them down into a nice round shape, and then you drill a hole in them, and it becomes money. It becomes a bead or a symbol of wealth, or part of something that is a symbol of wealth, like a necklace. How many necklaces does the guy have on, or the girl or the lady? How many necklaces? It's an indicator of wealth, to wear your wealth around your neck. Still to this day, that's done. You want to show off your wealth? You invest in a piece of jewelry and you wear it around your neck, as an example, or around your wrist in form of a watch. You wear your wealth. It's a very old concept. And one of the easiest ways to wear your wealth is to drill a hole and string it onto a necklace. Do they wear these big banner stones as necklaces? Well, maybe not the big ones, but there's all kinds of sizes of those. There's little ones too. And who says they didn't wear these big bulky things around their neck sometimes? People with wealth do funny things. They wear big old heavy headdresses, encrusted with jewels in the form of crowns and stuff. Heavy. Can you imagine wearing a solid gold crown with encrusted with jewels? These things are not lightweight, I don't think. Anyways. Yeah, because gold is one of the heaviest metals. So what will you do with a blade like this? How can it symbolize wealth? Well, it symbolizes it by the labor involved. The material is rare. And the skill, it takes time. The skill is rare. All those things combined can make it valuable, just like it is today. If I don't mess up the edge. I'm crushing a lot of it. I'll probably do the final persnickety flaking off camera. Yeah, because I'm having a hard time. I got to get my other glasses on. I am wearing some glasses that have good magnification, but I'm going to need to wear the other ones. Plus, I'm probably going to make a mess of myself. Yeah. But that's basically it. There's not much more to go. Not much at all. I'm not going to mess with it anymore, and I'm not going to try to smooth that out, because I know that if I take a big flake there, it'll take a bite out of this, and it'll step right across that, even though the contour is perfect. Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't want to flake anywhere in this area in that direction. So it could be the grain of the piece. This kind of banded obsidian or dacite does have grain sometimes. I'm not saying this one does, but you never know. It could be my mistakes that I keep making by coincidence the same dumb mistake every time. But I've worked all the other edges without a problem, so to speak. But with just that one edge is messing me up. So I'm thinking it's probably a combination of the grain of the piece and just my difficulty in working with that thin edge right there. See, that's kind of thin. It's thinner than this side. So that makes a difference. But I tapered it. I'm going to go back and pick on the edge a little bit more before I put it up in the auction. Put it up for sale in the auction. But that's it, yeah. 29 minutes, 30 minutes, exactly. Cool. All right. There it is. Take a snapshot. There you go. That's it.